was Winnipeg-based noise punk trio TUNIC with the title track of their new album, Exhaling. TUNIC formed around 2012 after the band's founder, David Schellenberg, on vocals and guitar, was fired from another band he was in for not being good enough on bass. This acted as a catalyst for David to start his own project, going for a sound inspired by the likes of Quicksand and Superchunk. In 2016, TUNIC released their first EP, Disappointment, followed by another EP, Boss, in 2017. Since those releases, TUNIC has been touring practically non-stop, playing 111 shows in 2019 alone. The new album, Exhaling, acts as an anthology album of both of those EPs with 3 new tracks, Exhaling, Fade Out, and Invalid. I got to chat with David via Zoom about the new album, the band's relationship with their new label, Artefact Records, and a lot about what he's been doing to keep busy during the pandemic. Here's my chat with David Schellenberg of TUNIC.
So what I did is I put my headphones on so that I can talk to you through this mic, but then I have my phone just recording right here so that I don't hear your voice. So it's just my voice and not your voice.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, cool. That's a good idea.
A buddy of mine is a podcaster, and he had me on his show, which was cool. Actually, it was the band's favorite podcast of all time. So we ended up befriending him, and then, but anyways, he ended up having me on the show to talk about something. And long story short, this is his method, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay, sweet. So, what podcast is that?
It's called Here Be Monsters. It was it's like,
oh wait, that's oh my god, man, what's that? That's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, no?
It's about the unknown is like what it's like.
Okay.
He was out of Rhode Island, but he was originally out of Seattle. It's like a KCRW thing. And actually, I know he just lost his funding. Like they just like cut the show, so I think he's just trying to make it independently now.
Oh, good for him.
So
that's wild. Congratulations. That's wicked that you got to be on that.
Yeah, that's fun.
What were you guys talking about?
Well, it was hilarious. I did the interview in a hotel room in Las Vegas for our bass player's bachelor party, which we're like, we should go to Las Vegas for our friend's bachelor party. And then we were like, yeah, we should. And then we actually did.
Okay.
like it was like, we were like, and it just sort of like snowballed and it happened. It was about when we stayed at Jeff's from Here Be Monsters house. And I referred to the audience as meat baffles.
Okay.
And so he really liked that. So he just wanted to, the whole episode was about like the human body and like different like ways that people think about bodies and ways that like bodies like absorb feelings or sound or stuff like that. And so for me, I like talked for like 5 minutes about how every sound tech ever has said like once we get some meat baffles in here, it'll sound different. Like
right.
So
what about you? How's 2020 been for you?
It's been good, like, as much as it can be.
Right.
We were in New York when shit hit the fan here. We flew to New York on March 12th.
Okay.
To play a couple of shows at a festival, and it's like New York's like precursor to South by Southwest festival, and we were there and we were sort of sitting on this new record, hoping to meet some people, and figured we'd go to one of the biggest cities in the world to shop a new record around and play a couple of shows and play some songs from it. And then the next morning we woke up and we're just like, well, everyone we know has canceled tours, and it's like, I'm like, let's go home. Like we were supposed to be in New York for like 4 days and we were there for 36 hours.
Oh no.
So we just turned around and we were like the first people that had to quarantine.
Right.
The airline lost my guitars. They showed up again, which was good. But like,
oh, that's good.
But no, it's been cool. 2020 was cool. Then after that, like during quarantine is when I got introduced to Lasak and everyone at Artefact Records, and we were able to make that connection and work on that deal. So that was a big highlight. We obviously canceled our spring European tour. for this year. And then I also I'm a co-owner of a venue in Winnipeg called the Goodwill Social Club,
Okay.
and I do all the booking there. That's my day job, is I book and promote shows. And so there was a lot of, and I was also the general manager at the time, so I had to do a lot of like closing down my business and laying off my staff, and
Oh no.
so that took a long while to figure out. So that was really hard,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But we closed before we were forced to. We just like made the call, and so it's been okay. On I went back to school this September for like a little online marketing program through the University of Winnipeg for something to do.
Yep.
And just when we could get together, like TUNIC would get together and write a lot. And we actually, I think we did like somewhere in the teens. Like I think we're at like 13 or something new tracks that we're sitting on right now. Like
Cool.
which is really exciting. Yeah, we were stupid productive. Oh, and my girlfriend and I moved into a house together. I guess that's also like, there's a bunch of
lots of stuff. Cool.
lots of really great stuff in this like, a tough year. Like last year we played 111 shows, and this year we played 0. So
Oh no.
so that's hard, but it's been cool to be home. We've been grinding pretty hard on the road. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, you're known as a touring band. Like you said, 111 shows last year. So this must have really just derailed stuff. It sounds like you've been productive, which is really good. Was the moving in with the girlfriend, was that pre-planned, or was that did COVID kind of?
No, it was pre-planned. It was something that we talked about for a while, and Fiona is she's in medical school, so her life is wildly consuming all the time, and she was still going to work and / school when everything was happening, and I wasn't doing anything. So I just like apartment and house hunted, and like that became like, I just like set a goal, and that became like the thing I had to focus on.
Right.
Like,
Something
day.
to keep you busy.
Like, yeah. So like every day Fiona would come home and be like, okay, I refreshed the page like 9 times today. Here's all the new places that are available here in our price. Like, like I just became so set. Like, right. It's like how embarrassingly enough, it's like how I played all of Pokemon Red in 2 days. Like, and I spent 24 hours in 2 days playing Pokemon Red.
Right.
Because I just was like, this is what I'm doing these days. I'm determined. This is like,
right. Yeah.
And so I sort of just like set goals for myself, and I just tried to accomplish them.
Yeah. For sure. Well, you got to do what you got to do to keep busy. Otherwise, you're just gonna go crazy, right? Like,
absolutely. So.
Well, I know touring is something we can't really talk about now, or at least current touring. But knowing that TUNIC is a pretty big touring band, you've been able to tour, in Europe, North America. I was just curious, in your opinion, for your sound, what city seems to be the most receptive?
Well, that's a good question, Frankie. It's funny. I actually talk about this a lot with like my friends or my family members who don't really understand the music that we make, or sort of like my aunts are like, "Are you on CBC?" I'm like, "No," but
no.
It's like, it's not that type of band. And it's like, "Oh, so you sound like Metallica." I'm like, "Not really." But actually, the places that have been the best for us are Minneapolis. Like, we consider Minneapolis. We play to more people in Minneapolis than we do in Winnipeg.
Okay.
Like Minneapolis is truly our home away from home. Like, we have just like, we'll play a show in Minneapolis and there'll be 150 people there, and I'm like, hey, I know 75 people's names there. Like, it's just like, just because it's so close to us and we've played there so often, and Minneapolis really is like the capital of music for the Midwest. Don't tell Chicago that. So Minneapolis has been really fantastic. Both times we've played Paris has been sold out, which is the only places that's ever happened to us. And then actually Austin, Texas.
Cool.
has been really, so those three are sort of like our pillars. And then actually Southern California, like in the Orange County area, has been really really great for us too.
Very cool. And what was like the biggest crowd you've played for?
The biggest crowd that Tunic has ever played for? That's a good question. Nothing. I don't know what we would have done, like a couple hometown shows when we opened for like we opened for Mets one time,
Cool.
and that was like 300 people, and we opened for Ken Mode's last album release, which was like 300 people. So those were cool shows. I'm trying to think about if there was anything bigger. We must have played some. We opened for Cancer Bats one time. That was at some festival. That was a good one. But yeah, nothing like, I've played in other bands where we've played like big outdoor festival style, like Harborfront stage style stuff, but nothing like that with Tunic. Just like big club shows or like little theater shows and stuff like that,
Right.
opening, but nothing. That's something we've sort of like completely understand, is that Tunic will never be like a big, larger than life, grandiose, like playing to 1,000, like playing the Mod Club, rest in peace, or something like that. You know,
Right.
like we'll be playing the Garrison at the height of our career.
Right. Well, you have a very niche sound, so it's not like, accessible to a big audience, I would imagine. That being said, I've been doing research, found some live performances, and it looks like you put on an amazing show.
Well, thank you.
I mean, that's been the probably the hardest part of all of this, is just every time I do the research on a band or an artist, I have to just look back to last year or a couple of years ago, and I'm just missing it so much.
Oh yeah, no, I found there's a new live Kim Gordon video from like her third show ever that just got uploaded to YouTube. Pardon me. That just got uploaded to YouTube like 4 days ago or something like that. And I was like, oh, a live video on YouTube I haven't seen yet. And I was like so excited about it, because I didn't really think that. I was like, live music is everything in my life. It's my job, and it's also everything I do with Tunic. So having a break from your job is kind of cool.
Yeah.
As much as even if it's the coolest thing in the world, like, which live music is the absolute, it's my favorite thing in the world, but having a break from it is cool too, because it's also my job. And so, but like I've really now like really started to feel it, that I'm like, damn, I really missed this.
You mentioned the venue that you work at. What was it called again?
It's called the Goodwill Social Club.
The Goodwill Social Club. When lockdowns were kind of lifted, I know there was like maybe a brief like month or two that people were trying to figure out if they could do some sort of live show again, be it like maybe something outdoors or just a very limited capacity. Were you trying anything like that, or?
Yeah, we had some stuff. It was pretty uncomfortable, to be honest. Like to be completely honest with you, Frankie, it was. I was a little like uncomfortable with it, because like our venue is 225 capacity.
Yeah.
And with the new restrictions and everyone having to be seated, our venue went from 225 to 36.
Oh my God.
So like, so it was hard there. And like, we got a couple local bands to play, and it was good to have music again, but it was just such a different experience. And like, I've been a professional promoter for 14 years. And so just like, as much as being a promoter for a living doesn't make a ton of money, I never thought that live music would go anywhere. And so just after a decade plus experience and just seeing what those shows look like, I'm like, this is not what I signed up for.
Right. Would you have to like set ticket prices like extremely high just to kind of cover a little bit of overhead, or?
Yeah, like we essentially just like my sound tech is also a business partner. And so we would just like, he wouldn't get paid. He's just like, he would just be like, I want there to be shows at the bar. And like, I wouldn't get paid either. So like, I was like, this is our business. We need to make money. Like,
yeah.
We have staff to pay, and these people need jobs. And like, it's just sort of like, if we never took like, we never made any money. We still don't make any money. We're not open right now. But like for the 6 years that I've ran the bar, like we've never we've never really like turned a profit or never really like paid ourselves like owner fees or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. You know, it's just for the better, the greater good of the city and the community.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
like
was,
labor of love.
yeah, exactly. And so it was just awkward. It was just, the shows were just awkward. I know that the bands were grateful to do them again, but it, I couldn't really find the fire to
Mm-hmm.
like go out there and make it happen again.
Yeah, I can see that. Going back to when Tunic was touring, out of your repertoire of songs, what was your favorite to perform?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, there's all this new stuff that we haven't even played live yet. So it's really going back to the first record, Complexion, and the EPs of Disappointment and Boss.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I had a label call today with Artefact, and for some reason we started talking about the song Boss, both being like, I said like Boss is probably my favorite song that I've ever written, and Yasek's like, yeah, I think it's mine too, which
Oh,
is
cool.
so I guess Boss is a really great song to play live. I liked playing this song Evan,
Mm-hmm.
which was extremely groovy. um Dry Heave is obviously just like the track that we have to play forever, and I guess Disappointment also is up there because Disappointment is cool because it's actually like we've toured so much that's got the point now where like people are in the front row like singing the song back at us, and it's like that moment where I'm like, oh hell yeah, like this is actually happening. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I can tell my girlfriend about this. There was like 5 people in the front that sang along.
Oh, that must be such a great feeling though when you could see the crowd singing along to something you've written.
Oh my gosh, it's like I've never had a better feeling in my entire life, to be completely honest. Like
Yeah.
I was just like, it's just like one of those moments where I'm just like, it can be so deflating to be on tour all the time, and then you play a show and there's like a handful of people in the front, or like someone came to your show wearing a shirt from like that you like know is from like 2 tours ago or something like that, and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, they're like, hell yeah, that's like, just like I was like, I want to kiss you on the mouth, not right now obviously, but like, but it's just like that feeling is just it's overwhelming.
Oh, that's funny. So I wanted to chat a bit about the history of Tunic.
Sure.
And going through your bio, I thought it was pretty funny how you put it, saying that Tunic was born out of spite.
Yeah.
And then when I went into some other interviews that you had done, I got a bit of background on that. But I really would love to hear the story behind not being good enough for another band, and then you're like, "Fuck it, we're gonna do it myself." And then, what band were you in at the time?
Sure. I always tell every for you, Frankie, I'll tell you. For everyone else, I'm like, oh, it's not important. I when I was a teenager, so like I'm 29 now.
Okay.
When I was 19, I dropped out of university and joined this band called Les Jupes, which was like an indie rock thing. It was kind of like the guy had a big, deep voice, kind of like very much like the National
Okay.
sort of vibe, stuff like that, very Interpol-y and stuff like that. And I was playing bass in it, and I was a kid, and it was a cool experience. And we toured a lot. The only place we had fans was in Germany, so we went to Germany a bunch of times. It was really cool. But I'm not a very adequate musician, and I know that about myself. Like I have more heart than skill.
Okay.
And that was especially true then, and not so much true now.
Right. Okay. I was gonna argue on that, but okay.
I've very much developed my own style, and
Yeah.
Rory, our bass player, who is also my best friend in real life, will say that too. Is that he's like, you're not the most technical guitar player, but you're very unique and you're very good at what you do. And I was like,
Definitely.
thank you, Rory, because he just has like he knows music theory, and I know nothing about any of that stuff.
Okay.
So anyways, I was in this band Les Jupes, and we toured a bunch, and we had always like sort of like, we had like maybe a solid lineup for a year. But anyways, I was in it for about 4.5 years. And Mike, the front man, at one point sort of told me that like I wasn't like, we had these 2 really great players who had just joined the band, a really great drummer and a really great keyboardist. And Mike eventually sort of told me that he's like, you aren't really up to snuff with the rest of the guys.
Wow.
And I was all like, and I was already like pretty self-conscious about that.
Right.
And it was like, and I'm a pretty emotional person. I'm an artist, I guess. So,
Right. Yeah.
but and so like, and I just remember that he said that to me, and I was like, I've been the only consistent member of this band with you for the last 4.5 years.
Yeah. You're
Like,
grandfathered in.
yeah, like we're on our third drummer and third keyboardist since I've been in this band, and that's what you say to me, like,
Right.
like he didn't have a credit card. I had a credit card. Like
Oh yeah, you're
like
invested.
like I've had to pay for some stuff, and for essentially being like his band and everything like that. We used my van, So,
Yeah.
anyways, he said that, and then I was just like, and I sort of like it really stuck with me, and I thought about it, and I just was like, to me, the writing was like kind of on the wall that it wasn't gonna go anywhere or go any
Hmm.
further. Like we've had all these opportunities. We played South by Southwest 3 times. We did these great support tours in Europe, and I just was like nothing was connecting.
Right.
And so I just was like, kind of just like secretly went out and bought a guitar and started to teach myself how to play guitar. And then sort of like well before I was confident at guitar, I just sort of like told Mike that I was done, and
Right.
I didn't want to be in Les Jupe anymore. And he took it pretty hard, and we didn't really talk for a while, but we're fine now. Like
Okay.
that band imploded and had a really messy breakup, like a very, very messy breakup, and it's very dramatic. And I was happy to get out before it did. And
Lucky. Yeah.
I've remained friends with everybody who's been in that band, and
Oh, that's good.
I have no hard feelings towards anybody who was ever in that band. Like all those people are my friends still, and but yeah. And so then I made Tunic um, as a hobby. Tunic was supposed to be my last band. Like it was supposed to be my hobby band that we play a couple of shows every once in a while.
Okay.
Never go on tour, maybe make a record.
Right.
Uh,
How things have
and
changed.
yes. And so then, and like, just like, and yeah. And then sort of like our original drummer, Sam, we're on our second drummer now, Dan, but Sam, our original drummer, is like punk through and through. And so when like Rory and I started playing with Sam, Sam really like influenced our tastes, and just his drumming style just really like influenced the way we wrote songs. And and that's sort of what made Tunic what it is now. And Sam decided to leave the band after a while, just because he's a homebody and he wants to stay home and he doesn't want to play a bunch of shows. And
Right.
and he still does all of our graphic design and everything like that. Like he's still like a part of the family and everything like that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you're just like, completely understandable. It's not for
Right.
everyone.
So, what time frame is this? So, it says that Tunic was born in 2012, but I'm assuming breaking up from the old band, fucking around on guitar for a while, and then this being a hobby. This must have been in the works for a while before it was officially
Yeah.
2012, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So because Tunic is old now. Yeah. Because Sam was in the band for 5 years. So So yeah, it was about like, I would have bought a guitar sort of right before I really quit Les Jupe and started messing around with stuff like that. Probably in my first apartment, which would have been in 2011.
Okay.
So, and I remember actually, yeah, it must have been 2011, because I remember writing a couple of the very first Tunic songs on this like terrible nylon string guitar that actually Rory's brother left at our apartment for some reason. So, so yeah, so it all sort of like Tunic existed in 2012, but wasn't really a real band until realistically probably 2015. Like,
Right. And how was that difference of being a bassist in someone else's band, from the sounds of it, someone that was pretty controlling, to now just being, with sorry, what was the original drummer's name?
Sam was the
Sam.
original.
So Rory, who you said is your best friend, and Sam, who I'm assuming was a good friend.
Absolutely, yeah, he
was a good friend. So what was that juxtaposition like, going from kind of being a minion in a band to now this is your band and you have full creative control?
I just tried to make it a fun experience. Like Tunic was kind of, for lack of a better word, like those early days of Tunic was kind of just like bullshit city. Like we just
Right.
like we had this hilarious, actually, yeah, this was a very funny, I just realized this is so ridiculous looking back on it, that we would practice at midnight. We would get together at midnight. Sam like washed dishes at some restaurant, and Roy and I would go and pick him up at midnight, and we'd practice till like 3 a.m. And it was like, it was really just glorified hanging out. The first like 3 years of Tunic was just like me getting my feet wet, playing guitar, me learning if I was gonna sing, if I was gonna yell, and like I feel like for as long as Tunic's been around, we should be further along. But then I was also like, no, I've never fronted a band before. I've never sang before. Like I had to learn all those things. And Tunic was there was no pressure.
Right.
And so like we just it's all things we don't really do anymore. But we'd all like smoke cigarettes and drink beer in our jam space and just like goof off.
Right.
And make this like weird music. And then eventually it just was like, we should go on tour. It's like, we should go on another tour. It's like,
right.
we should make it. It's like, we should make an album. It's like, we should stop that album and turn it into a 7-inch. You're like, okay, cool.
Do you remember your first show performing as Tunic?
Our first show, I do. It was December. It was December 28th. And we played for a very short time. And it was at a weird like art gallery space that I think only existed for like 2 months, like one of those sort of pop-up DIY. It's a shoe store now. No, it's a convenience store now.
Okay.
That's like, it's like one of those like neighborhood like mom and pop like convenience stores.
Yeah.
In like a little rougher part of town now. And we played with the Gunnis, which is Alana, who I worked at they cooked. I worked with Alana somewhere, didn't I? And then our friends Pop Crimes, who ended up being a couple of those guys ended up being my roommates and good friends for a while. But
wow.
But yeah, it was a long time ago, and I was very, very nervous. I remember that.
Oh, I bet.
And I remember that Roy and Sam were not. They were just like, whatever.
And then how long did it take from that first show until the band was ready to go on their first tour?
We went on our first tour probably 2 years after that. We did like, it was kind of like tourcation, to be honest, Frankie. Like it was like, again, in those first like 4 years of Tunic, we were all just like glorified hanging out. We went on tour with our friends, this phenomenal band called Conduct. And they sort of exist still, but they're all doing different things in their lives now. But yeah, we have our first release is a split 7-inch with them, actually.
Yeah, I saw that on your discography. Yeah.
And so we did a run through the States and a couple shows in Canada. But like Nick, who booked the tour, like we had like one show in Minneapolis, and then we had like 3 days off and a show in Toronto, and then like 2 days off and a show in Montreal, and then we had to play Kentucky the next day. And then we were on tour for like a month, and I think we played like 10 shows or something, you know, like it was. And like I remember we canceled a show and we just went to New Orleans for like 3 days because we're just like, this tour sucks. Like we have this bag of money that was like, okay, we're out of gas money. Everyone put $20 into the bag. And I remember we slept on a beach like in Massachusetts because we were out of money. Like we couldn't get a hotel or anything like that. Is that we just like drove from New York City to like the closest beach that we could find, and we just like got there at like 5 a.m. and I remember I slept like in a sweater just like on the beach.
Oh man.
And I just remember it was like, I remember that like I love everyone in Conduct and it was awesome, and I just remember being like, I could book this tour better. Like I could, like we like got home from that tour and we were all like, well, we don't hate each other, we had a lot of fun, we should do this again. And then that November, like that was in July, and then that November we did it again.
Okay.
And then
and were you the one to book the tour this time?
Yeah.
So it was a bit better planned out. And
it was just, we just did Western Canada. The real, and we met a bunch of amazing friends who are still our friends to that day on that tour, actually, looking back on it. And then after that we just started doing sort of like this West Coast loop. for the next couple years, where we would just do like, we'd either start in Winnipeg and make our way out to like Victoria, then go all the way down to LA and then up to Austin and then straight up, or vice versa. And we did that for a couple of years. And then after that, like Rory and Sam went back to school. I had these two other guys, Eric and Justin, who are good friends of mine, and playing this great band called Slow Spirit, which is like sort of like an indie jazz rock thing. And they ended up playing in TUNIC too, as like hired guns. And we did a couple tours out east together. And then they were supposed to come to Europe with me for the first time. And then they backed out, and I had to, there's just been so many people who, just of all the touring that we've done as TUNIC, there's been a lot of people that have come in and out, but the band has always remained like, it was me, Rory, Sam, and then it was me, Rory, Dan, and that's who the band is. We've just had other folks who have just filled in.
Right. And when did Dan join the band?
Dan, they joined the band in 2017. Dan joined the band. We went for beers with Dan before we recorded Complexion, before we recorded the first album.
Okay.
Because Sam has said, like, Sam was like, I'm going to record the album, and that's going to be the last thing I do.
Okay.
And I remember I had to be like, Sam, please record this album. Like, just like, we've been a band for so long. We've like finally got this batch of songs. Like, we're spending real money. Like, we're flying in Jase to record the thing. And I was like, Sam, please, like, just because he was like, Sam was kind of like on the fence about it, like if he even wanted to track the thing. And I was like, just like have it be the, like, you know, our victory lap of like the original core group of the band.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
the last hurrah.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
like, and I remember that day in the studio, Sam finished the drums. Well, the drum and bass. We recorded the drum and bass together. And Jase was like, well, Sam, you're done. And Sam's like, all right, peace. And he just like left. That was it. Like, he just was like, all right, see you later. And then he just like walked out, and that was it. Like, damn, dude.
No way.
Like,
and how did you find Dan?
Dan is actually, they were a massive TUNIC fan.
Okay.
And
I love stories like this.
Yeah, and so they love TUNIC. They're a lot younger than Rory and I. Rory's 30. I'm 29, and Dan is. I just had this conversation with them. They are 23.
Oh, they're a baby.
Yeah, they're a kid. And so they joined the band when they were 19 or 20. 20. They must have been 20. And but they were just a big fan. They played in another like noisy punk band called Pleasure Dens. That Pleasure Dens really, really liked TUNIC and Conduct, the two more like noisy rock bands in town. And Dan was just like a fan, and Dan was a good drummer. And they it was very cute. The first time we had them come by for a rehearsal or for like a tryout, Roy and I were like, what do you know? Like, we expected them to know like one song or something. And Dan's like, oh, I can play all of Boss and all of Disappointment. And we're just like, oh, cool. Damn. We're like, okay, cool. And we're like, this is good. You just need to work on your right foot. And then they did. And so like, cool. From that, like I would show up to band practice, and Dan would have been there for like 30 minutes before me. Just like they really put in the work. Like they, like, I love Sam, but Sam and Roy. Roy's just stupidly talented. Mm-hmm. So Roy doesn't really have to like practice or think about music that much.
Right.
Where I do. And same with Sam. Sam's an incredible drummer, and Dan had a steep learning curve because Sam had such a distinct style. Mm-hmm. And so every TUNIC practice I would always show up early, and then Dan would just be there practicing by themselves.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, I've never had someone else in the band do this.
Try so hard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was always the one trying so hard. And so when Dan joined, like, it was almost over. The band was almost over. And then Dan joined, and they were like, I want to do all this cool stuff that TUNIC does, like tour and play these shows and do all this stuff. And I was like, okay, we'll keep going.
So it's all thanks to Dan.
It really is all thanks to Dan.
That's great.
It's like, it's their like young naivety of everything. Like, they had toured a little bit, but they would never, like, you know, like Rory and I both played in a bunch of bands, and Rory and I used to be like the young people, and like Roy and I used to be the 20-year-olds playing with 30-year-olds in bands and stuff like that.
Right.
And then it flip-flopped, and now Roy and I are the old guys. And So it really is Dan's like young spirit that like kept the band alive. And then we just like, yeah, so we were rehearsing. We had demos for the first album. So Dan would learn those and we would like, it was funny, we'd like do 2 practices in a night where it'd be like first 2 hours with Dan, and then Sam would show up and we would like run like, it's like playing these album songs with Dan, play the album songs with Sam, and just like practice all the time because this like, because we had shows with Dan lined up in January.
Okay.
But we were recording in the first week of January. So it's like,
oh wow.
So like we just like condensed everything. So it was wild. It was fun.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, I want to go over the discography a bit because I do find the Exhaling album that will be coming out in April, I just find it very interesting the way you're going about it. So band forms 2012, 2016 we have Disappointment. The following year we have Boss come out, and then 2 years after that we have the full-length Complexion come out.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the whole getting into talks with Artefact, that happens this year in 2020?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So we have like, every band has a band dad, and it is me. But then I have a band dad for Tunic.
Okay.
Which is my friend Jesse Matheson, who fronts Ken Mode.
Okay, cool.
And so Jesse has really like taken us under his wing and really like held my hand a lot. And if I ever have a question, I'm like, Jesse, hey, can you help me? Like just like he's like the one guy who makes aggressive music, who's had success. Or like, there's propagandies from here too, I should, but Jesse makes like weird noise rock, metallic noise rock. And so Jesse has sort of always helped us out and helped us make connections and stuff like that. And so Jesse has a business with his brother Shane, who's also in Ken Mode, called MKM Business Management, which does taxes and grant writing for business for bands and labels.
Okay.
And so actually one of Jesse's biggest clients is Tandem Management, which is I imagine and so anyways, Jesse started talking to Artefact because Artefact is a Canadian label that wasn't getting any grant funding, even though they were turning a profit and maintaining, like, have 2 or 3 people on salary as an independent label. And Jesse's like, you can have access to this factor money. And so Jesse started talking to them. And then Jesse's like, oh, I'm talking to this guy. I'll just and there's a new Tunic thing. So Jesse just really connected the dots and sent over the record, which is cool because we talked to Sub Pop for a while and they came to a show back in the day, and they ended up turning us down for the first record, but and so we actually put up the first record with this other label that we don't need to talk about. But yeah, so like Artefact all happened in 2020, and Jesse, long story short, Jesse introduced us. So
cool. Okay, and you're officially signed to Artefact?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're officially signed to Artefact. Now, April 9th, 2021, we're going to have Exhaling coming out, which is going to be basically 3 new tracks with all the old, with everything else you've put out so far, all on one nice, big, beautiful album.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So everything was sort of sold out. Like Dis and Boss were sold out, and Complexion, I just shipped the last, I had 3 copies in my basement. I just shipped the last 3 out just before we announced Exhaling, which I kind of felt bad about, but and it's this is an idea that I've had for a while, that I just wanted to bundle all the old stuff with some new stuff. Because also all of our songs are so short that it could all fit on one record, because not every band has that advantage where you can do that.
It's truly just like a punk thing.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It's exactly. I'm pretty sure our date, Complexion is a 45 RPM. And so this is our first 33, which is pretty funny. Yeah. It's our first 33 and it's 23 songs long or something like that. Yeah. So Exhaling is just sort of the collective works of all that stuff. So it's 3 songs that we recorded. Oh wow, that was this year that we recorded in January of 2020. We recorded our proper second album in January of this year, and Exhaling and Fade Out and Invalid are all songs that we didn't make the record, but we still love the songs and still want them to see the light of day. So we bundled them with all of the sold out material.
Cool. And then you mentioned that you're sitting on a lot of new stuff right now too. So can we expect a new album to come out in 2021, or is that more 2022?
Yeah. Fall 2021. There'll be
cool. Okay, 2021 is going to be a great year then.
Yes, I hope so. Yeah. So we I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but yeah, it's in the bio. It says that.
It is in the bio. It is in the bio.
I was like, am I allowed to say that? We have another record. We're gonna put out our proper sophomore record in 2021.
Cool. And what's it been like working with Artefact as a label?
Awesome. They've been really great. I was a little hesitant just because I wasn't super familiar with them until like being introduced. I've had a couple of friends who have put stuff out on them, and there's a local band called Ghost Twin that has done stuff with them, and they're also more of a post-punky or like more goth label. But then at the same time, they put out Cloud Rat, which is just this amazing grindcore band, and after talking to Lasak, who runs the A&R side, and then there's Jeremy who does everything else. I've actually never met Jeremy, but it just made sense. He is just a huge music fan, and he just really believed in the band, and they are really great partners for that. It's we talk every Tuesday for an hour, and he's just gone above and beyond, and it's been a real treat to work with them. I actually can't say nicer things about them. Like,
that's cool. Yeah. Artefact honestly just came on my radar because of the podcast. I've actually had a few of their bands on the podcast, and yeah, I know what you mean with the post punk sound. I interviewed Boot Blacks.
Oh right, yeah.
And which, it's very cool seeing the versatility that they're offering. And now that you mentioned they have a grindcore album now, or a grindcore band rather, and now it's they're a pretty cool label. They've definitely like piqued my interest this year, and I'm always on their website or their Bandcamp checking out what's new. So that's cool. I'm really glad to hear that they're fun to work with.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Like, even like, there's that really awkward phase of when you sign a record deal where you have to hire a lawyer, and like it's like a 3-way call where it's like me, my lawyer, and them, and we're all like just like having talks, and it's like, well, and just like, everything was just like, I've been in that situation before, and it was terrible. Like, the guy from the label was really rude and just like kept referring to my lawyer as my bodyguard. And like just some real like, it just wasn't great. And but this time, like, where the three of us were on a call, like Lasak would hang up and it'd just be me and my lawyer, and he'd be like, I'm very happy with this. It's like,
cool. That's awesome.
And like my lawyer would be like, I get great vibes. Like, this is like, I was like, awesome. Actually, I saw that my lawyer liked the tweet that we announced Exhaling, and I was like, oh hell yeah. A like from our lawyer.
Yeah, there you go. The bodyguard gives it the thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. So everything with Artefact was super cool, and
cool.
It's been really great. It's I can't really say how. Yeah, it's just been really great. I'm really happy with them.
Cool. Well, shout out to Artefact.
Totally.
I wanted to. Can you tell me a bit about the album cover for Exhaling?
Sure. I don't have a ton to say about it. It's a design by Sam Neill, who is, as I mentioned many times in this podcast, Sam is our old drummer, and does all of our graphic design. He's done every release we've ever done except 2, and it's just the Tunic imagery is whatever Sam wants it to be.
Okay.
So that's all I can really tell you about it. There's no if there's any sort of significant meaning to it. I'm unsure, but I know that what Sam does is that he just listens on repeat to the music and then just creates that.
Okay. Yeah, I was like looking at it, and I'm just like, is this a shark?
Yeah, is it a shark? Is it a whale? Someone says it's like one of those. What are those called? You have to squint your eyes to blur them and then see like.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
Actually, going back, one more thing I wanted to mention about Artefact for one sec is that our friend Neil, who's toured with us a bunch and played bass in our band, and is officially actually Neil's the only person who's thanked on Exhaling because he's our unofficial fourth member.
Okay.
When I sometimes I tell Neil stuff about Tunic before I tell Rory and Dan, just because he's just that kind of friend. And I was like, Neil, we've been talking to this label Artefact, and he's just was like, oh, that's perfect. Like he was like, just like, and that's like, you know, Neil's opinion means everything to me, and so he was just like so quickly, just like that makes total sense. You should go there. And I was just
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So no deeper thing. It's
no
open to interpretation.
No deeper theme. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Tell me about your relationship working with Jase Lasak.
Jase, I love Jase. Or as I call him, Daddy. But or Uncle Jackie. So I met Jase. Oh gosh, when did I meet Jase? 2015. I met Jase in 2015 when he recorded my ex-girlfriend's band.
Okay.
My ex-girlfriend plays in a band called Yes We Mystic, which is like more of like a Arcade Fiery indie rock thing. She plays cello and keyboard in it, and which is sort of like Jase's bread and butter. And so they did, like, right when her and I started dating, she did 3 weeks in Montreal, and they came to Winnipeg and did 3 weeks here. And so she was back from being from 3 weeks and was in the studio all day. So I'd obviously hang out with him at night, and Jase would also just be hanging out with him. And his vibe is just unreal. Like Jase just has the most like welcoming, warm. There's no such thing as a mistake. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Right.
Like he's from Regina, but he's lived in Montreal. Like he's a total like prairie boy, goof boy. He's like, let's go buy some more fucking Pilsners. Like, let's go.
Right.
Like, you know. And so I just absolutely loved hanging out with him. And so when it came time to make our record, and Jody and I were still together when I hired, but we broke up before I recorded with it. So it's sort of awkward that way, but it doesn't matter. We're fine now.
Right.
But
okay, good.
But yeah, and so then I just emailed Jason, was like, this may not be like your bread and butter, but would you want to do this? And Jason responded with, my favorite band is Drive Like Jehu, so let's go. And I was just like, oh, cool. Okay, sick. He's like, I just got pigeonholed as like a violin and glockenspiel guy because I live in Montreal. Like, he's like, I love Fugazi. And I was like, okay, you love Fugazi and you love Drive Like Jehu. Like, let's
right.
go.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And so we did the first record with Jase, and then actually the new record is with Jase too.
Cool. It's funny when I was like, I recognized the name, and I'm like, why do I know that name? And I looked it up, and then realized like, oh, I've seen his band play. I saw his band play in New York City like in 2009, I think, the Bernard Lakes.
Yeah.
And it was just funny how it like all came full circle, and how there's like weird connections with things, right? Like,
oh yeah, and Jase is the best. Jase is the best engineer in the country, in my opinion. And actually, we were touring with our friends in the band Blessed, and I remember that Drew, who's the frontman of Blessed, and I were talking about, we were both going to go make our records, and I was like, we hadn't talked about who we were making them with, and I was like, who are you making your record with? He's like, we're making it with Jase Lasak. And I was all like, when? He's like, in 2 weeks. He's like, it's like, when are you recording your record? I'm like, in 4 weeks with Jase Lasak.
No way.
And we were both just like, weird.
That's
and
cool.
So it just says like we were buddy bands, and then so it's just like it'll always be that thing where like Jase was recording us after. He's like, well, Blessed wouldn't have done it like that.
Right.
Like,
Oh, that's cool.
So.
Cool. All right, David, I'm coming to my final questions here.
Sure.
So what band or artist has been getting you through the pandemic the most?
What band or artist has been getting me through the pandemic the most? That's a good question. Who have I fallen in love with in 2020? That's a really good question, Frankie. Who was it? I really love, there's this record, what's it called? I'll have to look it up. There's this band from the UK that's called Sorry.
Okay.
that sounds nothing like Tunic. And they put out a record called 925
Okay.
this year, and it was supposed to. It's on Domino, and they're a UK band, and they're very. I know there's elements of trip hop, there's elements of just like straight grunge.
Cool.
They're a phenomenal band. The record is awesome. That record is really good. So that was cool. The new Proto Martyr album is really great. Trying to think if there's anything like raw or disgusting that I have really liked, but I've mostly just been listening to like DJ Shadow and Bjork. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. All right. And it sounds like you're a music nerd, and you love, like me, you love finding weird new stuff.
absolutely.
How do you go about finding new music?
I like most people. I don't know if this is true. I'll say it for most people. I hate when people tell me to listen to something. I need to come onto it on my own.
Okay.
So what I will do, I'm a little bit of a YouTube nerd for this.
Okay.
Is I'll just like what was it called? It's called Anti now. It's a YouTube channel, and it was called something before, but it's called Anti now. It's not the label Anti. It's like this sort of like infamous, very famous punk YouTube channel.
Okay.
And he just uploads full albums, and I've discovered a lot of really great releases from him.
Cool.
And
is that ANTI?
Yeah, ANTI, yeah.
Okay.
And that's where I've listened to all these really great records by like CCTV and stuff like that. It's just like it's very like punk, capital P punk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do that a lot, and then I cruise. I've started to cruise Spotify a little bit, but not as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just like I'll just see who is like who's touring with who. Like
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like I got into not Big Brave, but like Big Brave and Daughters, and like whoever they like, like when I went to go see Daughters in Vancouver, this band Haunted Horses opened up for them, and they were really fantastic. And so like I just like found them, and then I like, who do you play shows with in Seattle, and sort of just like spiral from there. And also we've toured with so many great bands, and all these people are making new bands all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of 2020 has been me actually diving into the Artefact roster too, just to familiarize myself with some of these bands that we really like. Artefact really has like an international reach. So there's this great band called Gold, which is from the Netherlands, who is amazing, and that I've listened to a bunch, and Cloud Rat, who I mentioned before. But so that's I dive. I just do a lot of internet creeping, as I would call it, where I just would see what's going on.
Right. Cool. I'm always trying to get just like tips and tricks. You'd be surprised how many people just tell me Spotify, and I'm like, oh, that's so boring. But no offense to anyone that's been on the podcast, but just try.
It's just it's just one of those things where I just want to go a little deeper, or also I'll just do a genre. I'll just be like, I haven't explored this genre of music enough.
Right.
What's it all about?
Right. Okay.
And like that's how like I ended up listening to like Nas this year, and I was all like, I haven't listened to enough East Coast rap in my life, and I was all like, what's that all about?
Right. Okay. Actually, just because it just happened a couple of weeks ago, what did your Spotify Wrapped look like?
Oh, it was bad because we took down our complexion off of it.
Yeah.
So it removed a bunch of plays from there. So it got, but Spotify Wrapped also has to be say what you will about Spotify, have whatever your opinion, but Spotify Wrapped has to be one of the most genius marketing things of the 21st century.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Like it's such an incredible tool to be like promoting them for free. Like, so ours was bad. Like it was nothing good. I think like we maybe cracked like 1,000 hours or something, which I guess is actually good. Taking out our songs are like 2 minutes long, but right. But it was fine. And you talk about it. And mine personally, I never really got mine. It was weird.
What do you mean you didn't get it?
I like didn't get it. I just like I like never got like the graphic. I never got the thing I could share on Instagram. But my favorite. Oh, but yeah, you know what? I will find it here for you. Because now I want to know too.
That's so
Mine was
weird because when I open my Spotify app, I'll look right now, but it's right there. That's so
mine.
weird that yours is not there.
Yeah, it just doesn't really exist. But mine was just Chat Pile. This band Chat Pile from Oklahoma.
Oh,
No,
okay.
from Tulsa. From Tulsa, they were like. I listened to the shit out of them.
Okay.
Like they have 8 songs in the world, and I think like 5 of them were my top 5. So,
Oh, okay.
and then I listened to this record called "Raining Cement" by Jesse Draxler a lot, which is like a terrifyingly like weird collagey, like ambient record. Jesse Draxler is a artist, like a visual artist. He made the cover for the Last Daughters album.
Oh, okay.
And he made this collaboration record with a bunch of people like Chelsea Wolfe and that guy from the Dillinger Escape Plan and Jay Jail and all these sort of like famous alternative like musicians from that US scene, and it's all like samples that he gave them that they turned into songs. It's very, very
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, and then last question for you: what is your latest and greatest find, music-wise?
My latest and greatest find? Oh, no, this is great. I was hoping I'd get this question. I just have been devouring a band that only has like 3 songs on the internet, and I feel like I'm like the UK is so hot right now with music.
Yeah,
like,
they are.
Like with like Squid and all this like new post-punk stuff that's just like coming up, that's just destroying like Black Midi, Squid and all this stuff, but or that new band that's on 4AD, Dry Cleaning. But this band is called Black Country New Road.
Black Country New Road. Okay, I gotta write that.
And they're like literal children. Like they're like 20 years old. Like we're talking, these kids don't have cheekbones yet. Like and it's just like Chef Kiss, like post-punk Slint inspired.
Very cool.
I found this interview. It was just yesterday. I found this interview of them. Listen to me. I'm so excited about it. There's an interview with Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth, Ed O'Brien, who from Radiohead, like with his solo project, and then like these children, and it's hosted by the front woman from Savages.
Oh, cool.
And it's like,
what is this?
I don't know. I'll send you the link after this. Okay, I can't remember what it's called, but it's and they like do like an hour-long conversation. I was just like consuming it yesterday.
Oh, very cool.
It was super cool. And then the other thing that someone sent me, that my friend Evan, who lives in Toronto, sent me yesterday, was an hour-long lecture on the creation of the music for Doom.
Okay.
And how it's like 6 pedals ran through like into a mixer, then another 6 pedals ran into a mixer, then another 6 pedals ran into a mixer, and now it's super blown out, and all the sound, all the like backbone of that entire music is just him playing one note, and then it's all the effects like making the feedback and like doing the rest.
Oh, cool. It's kind of like The Edge.
Yeah.
Kind of like what he does.
Absolutely. And so so Black Country New Road and the Doom soundtrack, I guess, are my
cool. Okay.
Are my new
the
thing.
Doom soundtrack is brutal. It sounds so cool. If we're talking about the new Doom, but they're all heavy.
Yes, this is the new Doom. Yes, this is the new one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. David, that's all my questions for you. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, Frankie, that's everything. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. This was such an easy, good talk, man. I'm very happy we managed to set this up. Really looking forward to the new record coming out. I will definitely be getting that, and can't wait until touring is allowed again and I can see you play live. I can't wait to tour again. It's the best. Yeah, man. All right, cool. Thanks, David. Thanks so much. Yeah, you too. Have a good one. Cheers.